Hey guys, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. In just 2 days, we managed to get more than 100 participants. So I'm really glad all of y'all are taking that first step to come in and be a part of this CV formatting workshop. So the main goal of this workshop is threefold. So we're going to be helping you through three different ways. First of all is to those people who haven't started writing a CV at all. So this will give you those pointers and those tips to be able to start writing your CV. And if you've already finished your education, this will be a great time for you to use downtime to start writing your CV, because it is a long process. The second is for those who have already written their CV and they just kind of want to fine tune it and make those edits and then make it as accurate and as smart as they can. And third is for those people who are still students and still studying, which is actually quite a majority in today's workshop. So this is not just going to help you like with the formatting and how to write it, but it's also going to help you actually, do these things before you graduate. So you are able to add it when you're ready to write your CV. So pay attention to all of the things that we talk about, because those are the things you need on your CV. And you have a few years before you graduate, so you will probably be able to try and do a little bit of all of that so you can put that on in your CV when you're ready. So let's move on to the next slide. Just a little bit about statistics and who is attending with y'all today. Most of our crowd is from India, but we also have a lot of people from Japan, Nepal, Pakistan, the UAE, Guatemala, and also those who are in the US. And then, like I was mentioning before, we have about 50% who are still students. And the rest of them, we have about 15% who are already in the application cycle, whereas the 35% well, 35% of them are in the step of preparing for INBDE or NBDE, which means your next step would actually be writing the CV, statement of purpose, and getting right into the CAPIT cycle. So a small introduction of our team. We have Dr. Anand Abraham, who unfortunately isn't joining us today. He is our main organizer and our finance director. He's based in India, and he basically does all our liaison work, help us conduct these workshops. We also have me, who is, I'm Dr. Shikha Shah, and I'm a practicing dentist here in California. I graduated a year ago from UCLA School of Dentistry, and since about ever since I actually moved to the US, I have been trying to mentor people one-on-one, or if they reach out to me through Instagram, and it's been the same way with Dr. Siri as well. And that's why we got together to make this a thing and call our team the DDS Mentors, so we can actually help everybody get all the information they need about dentistry in the US. I want to ask Dr. Siri to talk and introduce herself. Oh, there she is. Oh, I think you are on mute, Dr. Siri.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about the slides. We haven't tested this software before, so it's kind of troubling us today. So it's not staying on one slide, it keeps going back and forth. So I apologize for that. Anyway, I'm Dr. Sirisha Mahesh. I graduated from VS Dental College back in Bangalore back in 2015. I did a few certificate programs while I was at UCLA, and also I did my DDS from University of Colorado, and now I'm a practicing dentist as well in California. So let's get started on today's workshop. All right, so let's talk about CVs. Let me make sure that this slide stays put. Sorry. Okay, so CV stands for curriculum vitae. So it's nothing but a document that has your academic and your professional information that you are using to basically market yourself, to show what you can bring to the table so that you can get an admission or a job. It's a document that talks about, sorry about this. Let's see what I can do.
Dr. Siri, is the Google presentation maybe just on auto so it keeps going? The slide presentation, maybe that's on auto.
All right, so hopefully this should help. Anyway, all right, so CV, as I was saying, is basically a document that talks about what qualifies you to attain the thing that you want, which in our case is basically a DBS admission. So this document should basically be like a trailer to an interesting movie, right? So when the reader reads it, he or she knows, your qualifications, and they want to call you for the interview and get to know you more. So what about CV versus resume? We've all heard about these terms, and they've been used interchangeably quite a bit, but there are a few differences between these two. So while a CV is like a detailed description of your educational background, your achievements, certifications, work experience, research, etc., a resume is more like a summary of it. So a resume is usually limited to 1 to 2 pages, while a CV can be longer. Resume is more tailored to a job that you're applying for, whereas with CV, it includes broader information. So what you want to produce is basically a document which is a hybrid of both of these. That's something about 2 to 3 pages long. So how important is your CV, right? So in our previous workshops, for those of you who attended it, we spoke about all the things that you can do to set yourself apart, how to be a step above the rest, and how to basically build a really, really interesting CV. So in that workshop, we spoke about the content and things you can add to your CV that will make you really valuable to a school. So in this workshop today, we're going to be talking about how you can put all of this information in a well-formatted, organized way so that it's easy on the eyes when the admission committee reads through your already great CV. So this is the overview of the topics that we'll be covering today. This is what's going to change your CV from a good CV and average CV to a really, really good one. So first, let's talk about the flow, right? You always want to keep in mind the flow of things. So while you can mix the order of how you want to include each part, you always want to try and organize your CV in an organic way. So preferably in a reverse chronological order, that under each heading that we see most commonly with CVs or resumes. In terms of headings, you always want to start with education and always try to end it with your professional affiliations. Quality over quantity. So this is very, very, very important. So you want to prioritize things that you have done that are unique to you, that will help you distinguish yourself from other colleagues. Always put credibility and quality before quantity. You shouldn't just fill up your resume or your CV just to make it like 3 or 4 pages long, right? Trust me, it's much better to have a good quality CV that's just 2 pages long than a CV that's just 4 pages long, that's just filled with things for the sake of, just making it seem long. So firstly, let's start off by talking about the header. So this usually people put their name, mailing address, email, phone number. But sometimes you can choose to put your mailing address at the end now because, for communication, they just use email and phone number. So who uses mailing address, right, these days? So in the CV, you can also include a 2-line introduction. Again, this is optional. So in the CV in general, when you're writing your CV, you want to try to avoid using personal pronouns like I or my or we. Let me, give you an example. Before I do that, what about the 2-line introduction? 2-line introduction is basically where you're talking about yourself and you also mention your career goals or your objectives. So for example, in terms of the personal pronouns, in the 2-line introduction, instead of saying, I'm a passionate and motivated foreign trained dental student, you can reword it to begin the sentence with something like this. Motivated, passionate, foreign trained dental graduate with a so-and-so GPA, looking to improve my knowledge about dentistry, standards of patient care, etc., etc. And then you can also throw in your, career goal or your objective, which is usually basically eventually establish an evidence-based dental office or whatever that might be, right? Maybe you want to get into academia, so you can throw that in there as well. You don't want this to be too wordy, like I said, limited to two to three lines where you talk about yourself and then also your career goals. And this is also optional, you don't need to include it. So this is a few examples. We took this example from Resume Genius. So here you can see it's really well written, and of course it's aesthetically pleasing. So instead of dental assistant, you probably want to add your name there. And then on the side, we have the phone number, email address, and mailing address. In some resumes, we've seen people include their social media links. I wouldn't recommend doing this because it's more like a professional CV, right? And here they've just, this is a little wordy, but you can see that they've included the career objective in this, right? This is another great example as well. Here they have their name up, what their position is. This is more job related, but this header is just for you to get kind of an idea. All right, so let's talk about the standard headings, right? So after the headings, so these are the usual standard headings we see in a CV. So under each heading, how do you list things? So as mentioned before, reverse chronological order is key. For example, under education, list your latest educational qualification first. That might even be a certification that you consider as valuable. And always wrap it up with your bachelor's degree. You don't want to drag it out. You don't want to start talking about your high school degree. That's not important when you're applying for your DDS, right? So though we recommend not going back any further in history than your basic dental bachelor's degree. So as previously mentioned, list these headings in an order that highlights you the best, right? Quality over quantity, like I said. So an example would be, if you've not done, a lot of research, but you have done a lot of community service, okay? You probably want to highlight community service first and then put research later. You don't necessarily have to follow the order that's in the screen right now, but at least the first and the last headings, that order should stay the same. Like, have education and experience in the beginning, professional affiliations and all that towards the end. The middle section of it can be interchanged depending on what you want to highlight more. You can also choose to introduce a few other optional things like headshots and your personal interests. So generally with personal interests, we talk about it in SOP, so it's not really necessary here. Only add things that bring value to your CV. So unless it's something under your personal interest that's going to significantly bring value to your CV, we don't necessarily advise that you add it here. Okay, Dr. Shikha.
All right, so education is the first section that we advise you usually start with. There are three main things that you have to try and include in your education system. Section, which would be the name of the university and the location of which university you graduated from, the degree that you achieved from that university, the year and month of receiving that degree, and then optionally, if you want, you can add, if you have certifications, you can add certifications. So this includes like any official, those courses that we do after BDS, like certain weekend certifications that we do, or it could even include like month programs like preceptorship, ACT, and other certificates that you may have got. Again, but the main thing that you have to remember is that don't include all of your high school education university and school education university. Specifically for your DDS application, what they only want to know about is where you did your BDS, which country, which location, what was the degree that you achieved, and then the which year you graduated, and of course any other additional certifications related to dentistry. Some people try and add their CPR, BLS certificates in this section, but we'd rather save it for later and not put that in your education because that is more extracurricular and not mainstream education. So try to avoid doing that, just to trying to fill up more on the education time. Also, don't include your CEs in this section because CEs you can make a whole separate section of continuing education and put that over there. So don't include all of your CE certificates under the education. There, they are only going to glance at it to see which university you graduated from and when. And then you do have other things that you can include, for example, the GPA, your class rank, or your program description. And we do have an example in our next slide, which will, so this is an example where you can actually explain what your, how your university was, your course was laid out. That is, the program was, how did the program involve all the third years and fourth years? What did you do in your internship? So it's basically just an expansion of what the course is. Now, we wouldn't recommend you do this for like your dental degree, but maybe it would be a good idea to explain your certifications, like what exactly did you do in your preceptorship. So if you want to go a little more into detail about that, you can do that and include a description of your education in the education system. But again, remember, your main aim here is to just give them a summary of what you are. You need to make it more, you need to make yourself more interesting. So if you have a unique certificate, don't give that description. Just kind of put that and maybe one line about it, and then let them call you in for an interview to get to know you better about what that certification was. Yeah, okay, so this is the professional experience. I'm sorry. All right, so the next section is your professional experience. Now here again, you would mainly put down your work experience, your internships, but try not to include that internship that you would do part of your own BDS course, because we've already spoken about that in education, and it is a 5-year course, so it's already included. So a lot of people will put their rotations under professional experience, but no, just put your work experience if you have any work experience, if you have any shadowing experience. All of that is what will come under your professional experience. Again, remember, it has to be in the reverse chronological order, and also it has to be the try and put those that are only those that have a lot of importance. If you have like multiple things that you've done, we advise not to start putting things to like more than 5 years ago. Try to put everything in detail up until 5 years ago, but anything beyond that, you can let it go unless it's really unique and needs to be included.
And then just to add to what Dr. Shikha said, it's very important to keep some consistency in your fonts. So don't use different fonts for different headings. If you pick a certain font for one heading, keep that for all the headings. And so this is a good example where you can see that. You can see there's consistency in the font that's used for each heading, for each subheading, and then all the bullet points, right? This is what makes it easy on the eye and not very chaotic when you look at a resume.
We can move on to so this is another layout of how your formatting can be. So this is like if somebody looked at this and the previous slide, looking at this will look a lot more appealing just because everything is laid out so nicely and you're utilizing space on the side, and you're also putting a lot more in points and bullets. So when we talk about formatting, you need to remember that points and bullets work very well in your CV because they just want to scan through it. On an average, people say that they only glance at your CV for 7 seconds. They see everything in that 7 seconds. So if you have this laid out like this is a way more appealing example than what in the previous example where you have too many words and paragraphs written. The next.
And then before you go on, I just want to add another point.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing would be is that when, for example, you in your resume, you don't have a lot of words, right? Or a lot of presentations. In that situation, you can present it like this, like how you see in this example, where it's concise, organized, and it's still under one heading. So that way you're not missing out. If you do have multiple awards or a lot of information to share, then what you can do is you can write it the same way the professional experience column is written. You can write it in a very similar way with your awards and publications. However, if that's limited, then this would be a nice way to present it as well.
All right, so the other 4 sections that you have to keep in mind when you're writing down your CV, apart from education, would be awards, research, leadership, and community service. Now, about this, your leadership and community service is, it would make more sense if you only spoke about that you did in your dental school time, because they don't want to know about your leadership at high school level or PUC level or undergrad level. They only want to know mostly relevant to dentistry. And so your leadership positions during dental school, that is in your BDS, is way more relevant and way more necessary to put down on your CV than those before that. Same thing with community service. Like mostly, although with community service, I will say that if you've had some voluntary experience even as in school or even as a child that has been very unique and contributed to the society in a very unique way, then by all means write it. But then most of your dental camps and your dental related community service, your volunteering, all of that would be better to only write those related to, only those during your dental school time. So again, I would like to point out this 5-year mark. Anything above 5 years, if it is not as significant, don't write it. The only time you would go down that road is if you have nothing else to write about the last 5 years. So keep that in mind. Just keep thinking of the last 5 years, and everything that is important within that, keep it in your resume. Everything that is not, you don't have to include that. Awards and research, again, during dental school is important. However, in awards and research, there are people who have gotten like national or international level awards, even in high school, even in PUC or college. So it's perfectly okay to include those that are nationally and internationally recognized. But any other award in dental school or research that you do in dental school, that's very important. So try to keep that at the topmost.
And then just to add to what you're saying, Dr. Shikha, if you've written down research, always know the starting point and the ending point of that research, even if you were only involved for one part of it. So you should always know everything that you put in your CV, because a CV is something that you're using to land an interview, right? You're not using to land an admission. That's what you're supposed to, when you look at a CV, that's what you should have in mind. So because of your CV and all of the other things you've accomplished in your CV, you land an interview. And in your interview, since you put down research, if a question ever comes up regarding your research, you should be in a position where you know the starting and ending point of that research. Like I mentioned, even if you were involved for a brief period of time, because if you don't know that, it will look really bad on the interview.
Right. Yeah. All right, so for formatting is one of the most important things that a CV requires. And it might seem so insignificant because who cares about font and text? You have to focus more on what the matter is, right? But it doesn't work that way. They kind of judge your professionalism from the way you format your CV. And when I'm going to go into details, you'll see how much every detail matters. So first of all, using Microsoft Word is standard. Just because you want it to open on all of their computers, and you just want to use something that is universal and that everybody recognizes and can, and the file is supported in whichever place they open it on. Secondly, would be to use comma and full stop very appropriately. And I gave you an example there. So if you're writing June 7th, comma 2010, then you keep that same date time format with the same comma in the whole resume. Wherever you have a date and year and month and year, keep the same. Don't write June 7, 2010 in that way in one place, and in another place, don't put 7th July 2020. You have to try and keep that format very uniform. You have to try and keep equal spacing between lines and also between columns. I have an example that I'll show you in the next couple of slides. But for now, just remember your spacing between each row also has to be uniform, and also your margin space on the left side and the right side. Now, usually what happens is your left side, everybody starts in that line, but your right side, you don't always end up reaching the end of that. So try and not condense all your matter in the left and center. Try to expand your sentences in one line so it reaches all the way to the right side, and it's in one line instead of 2 short lines. Again, I'll show you the example in the next couple of slides. The other thing is also your bullet points and your pointers. Even that style, try to keep it uniform. Like if you see in this slide, we have those white dots. Just the same white dots will be throughout our CV. It won't be like right now I want to use the white circle, next place I'm going to use arrow marks, and then I'm going to use dashes. No, try and keep even that as uniform as you can. These things may seem small, but when put together, they'll really look like a very uniform, very appealing and easy to read when they look at it. And then the other thing is, so many times, like in the previous example that we showed you, putting pointers is easier, like, and also better, right? Because you just put, people can scan and see what is significant. So try and use in as many places as you can. Try and use just like short points about each thing. But when you have to do a description, like what that course was about or what your work was about, in that case, write full sentences. Don't just be like, don't just put like words with commas. Just put full sentences of like, what did you do? And to form those sentences, using these powerful words make a huge difference. So if we move on to the next slide, you'll see the words that I'm talking about.
And then also to add to that, you want to increase the ease of readability. So you usually want to stick to fonts that are like Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri. And then you also don't want the font size to be too small, and you don't want it to be really, really big either. And like Dr. mentioned, you want equal spacing, right? Ideally, when you're using Word to format the vertical spacing, you can use a 1.5. So that's pretty ideal if you're doing it for your resume. So yeah, I'll move on to this.
Yeah. So in this example, I'm showing you just 3 separate ways of how you can use columns. So if you see, column 1 is your degree. Ignore the second line, just the first line is degree, year and month, and the full university name. So that means you're kind of using that whole space, right? You're not putting everything crunched up only on one side of the page. So you'll say degree, you'll put like BDS, and then which year and month you graduated, and then the university you graduated from, with maybe the state and city or the state and country next to it. So that will be the whole space. Another place you could use this column method would be when you are putting your professional affiliations. So that would be like, say you are a part of IDA, right? Or so you would put member or president or chairperson or whatever your position in that particular dental society is. And then you would put your member, you would put your membership year, and then you can put what association you're talking about. So that gives them a clue. You don't have to put that in sentences like, oh, I was a member of this association from this year to this year. You don't even have to put it like a dash, like saying ADA member or Academy of Advanced Endodontics member for 2 years. You don't have to put it like that. You can just make it clear and concise like this in 3 different columns with spacing. Again, the space between the columns, make it uniform. Don't let it like swag and have like, the lines not formatted in straight lines. That would not look good. But if you make everything straight and maintain spacing, then it will look so much better. A way to do that is for all those who are not very well versed with Word, you just have to keep noting down all those measurements like left indentation, the spacing, so that all of the words that you do, you kind of push back to the same left indentation, so that, like for example, when I made this slide, I knew I was like minus 2.16 inches. So I just made sure everything else I'm also doing at the same 2.16 inches. So just try and like make sure you see those measurements and try and keep everything uniform. The other way you can utilize more space is description of your role in a particular event, such that it can fit in one line. That's the first line that I put as an example. So if you say you worked as a dentist or an associate dentist, so you can put associate dentist and then describe that. Like for example, you did restorative treatments, prosthetic treatments, or was solely responsible for treatment planning, diagnosis, and delivering treatment to patients, and then get into the specifics of that too. You don't have to just say, oh, I did this. You have to speak about the numbers as well. Like you have to mention I treated 7 to 10 patients a day. So that description is what I'm talking about. Like you have to be specific, and you have to try a whole sentence and try to fit that sentence in one line to utilize the whole space. So your left space and right space is uniform. Yeah. Oh, and these were the words that I told you about, the very powerful verbs that you can use. This is just a list that I pulled off the internet, but if you look online, you'll find so many power verbs that you can use on your resume. A lot of schools even have filters where they might, put in certain words that they expect to see on your resume. And usually these filters are these words. So if they don't find anything of the any words, if they don't find these words on your resume or CV, they will just maybe not even look at your application. If they are the kind of popular schools that have a lot of applications, then sometimes they filter it out. So try and use as many good, powerful verbs like these in your CV.
All right, so let's talk about the bonus sections, right? So these are other things that you can add to your CV once you've polished up your CV with all the other points that we've already covered. So the first would be the skills section, right? If you're fluent in multiple languages or in a particular language, you can write that down apart from English, obviously. And then also licenses, right? So like we mentioned previously about putting CPR and ACLS, you don't need to put that under education. So you can put all of that here under skills section. So now, what if you don't have a lot of professional affiliations or publications or presentations to put under separate headings, right? What if you have only like one or something like that? So, or if you have some bits of information that you think is really valuable when you add it to your CV, but they don't necessarily fit under any heading that we've covered so far. So in this case, what you can do is you can group all this information together as bullet points under a heading called as other relevant information, and you can add it towards the end of your CV. Okay, so these are our upcoming programs if you guys are interested. So we basically we're nearing the end now. So for those of you interested and those of you who've reached out already, we do have one-on-one sessions available where we spend an hour with you and we go over whatever questions that you may have, and we might like help guide you in a particular aspect of your application. From the survey that we did on Instagram, most of you voted for the third option, which is the comprehensive DBS mentorship. So from whatever stage you're at, we can guide you every step of the way. And then the other one is now that you guys have a general idea of how to write your CV and your SOP, when you're closer to applying and you want it reviewed and you want our feedback, you need personalized guidance over that, we can help you with that too. So if you guys are interested in those aspects of it, you can contact us and the contact information will be up. So some words of information for you to keep in mind. These are things that we kind of mentioned in all of our workshops, right? You have to work hard, but you also have to work smart. That's the only time your work would be considered as efficient. And this is our last slide. Again, you can email us. You can actually email Dr. Anand, as he, is the main powerhouse for organizing everything. And some of you guys who are here from YouTube don't know our Instagram. This is our Instagram handle. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the webinar. We kind of racked our brains and tried to put together everything that might be beneficial for you guys. So once this webinar is done, we would actually really appreciate your feedback, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. Anything that is going to help us make our workshops better in the future, we're welcome to any sort of criticism as well. So after the end of this workshop, you guys will receive an email from GoToWebinar. So please make sure to give us your feedback so we can do better. Again, thank you all so much for attending. We're sorry to those who were not able to attend because of the 100 participant cap that we had. but we'll think about maybe uploading this recorded workshop if need be, so that it can help others as well. But otherwise, this concludes. This is the end of the workshop. Thank you so much for listening to us patiently.
Sorry, so we probably do have time for about a couple more questions because we already got questions. So I just wanted to address that. And if you guys have any more questions, we have about 10 more minutes so we can go over those as well. So one of the questions asked is these days.
Sorry. So because you're the organizer for this event, I don't have access to the question. So you can.
Right, I'm reading it out. Yeah. So one of the questions asked is, these days, a lot of interesting webinars are being conducted who also provide with a certificate of participation. Are these certificates of any importance to mention in the CV? If yes, then under which section? Unfortunately, certification of participation doesn't come under education, and also since they don't give out, unless they give out CE points, they don't come under continuing education either. So ideally in your resume, this wouldn't be a good idea to include. And Dr. Siri, did you have something to add? Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you. It wouldn't be, the best to include, but at the end of the day, if you do have an empty CV, and only if you think that participation will be a valuable addition to your CV, you can add it towards the end under other relevant information. But usually, if it's just a certificate of participation, I'm not sure how much value it will actually bring to your CV.
Right. Can you speak more about CE points certificates? Okay, I think what you mean to ask is, can you speak more about CE points and how to get those? So yeah, CE points and CE hours, these are two different things, okay? I mean, they're the same thing, but in some countries it's CE points, in some countries it's CE hours. So those, when you attend a CE program, they will give you a certificate. You don't need to include that anywhere. You just need to put down the heading of that continuing education and then the hours or the points that you got from it and the date of it. So you don't have to have a proof of their certificate, but you have to keep it for your own records, obviously. You just need to write the name and the time. I'll read out the next question for you, Dr. Siri. I've attended a lot of conferences giving CDE points. Where should I include them?
So you would probably include in the same section that Dr. Shikha mentioned. You can group CDE, CE is basically the same thing. CE in the US is continuing education. CDE in some countries like India or some parts of Asia, it's known as continuing dental education. So we recommend that you group all your CE and CDE certifications under one category. Again, think about how much value it will bring, right, to your CV. If it's like a basic infection control CD workshop that you've attended, I wouldn't recommend adding that to your CV because infection control is a standard of dentistry and it's expected from all dentists. Whereas, for example, you've done, CDE in implants or some, innovative technology in dentistry, that would be a valuable addition to your CV, especially if it's something that you plan on using in your own dental practice at some point, or so you can include those, but don't include the really basic ones.
Right. We've been asked to share our CV or discuss it verbally. So ideally, this is another thing that goes for all of you, not just us. You should try. So a lot of people have reached out and asked, and you will probably ask other people too, to share your CE. But this is something that is, unless you're really close to that person, it's not really appropriate, just because a CV is very personal to somebody. So instead of that, it would be a good idea for you to look at sample CEs on Google, and then you can discuss it with us about whether this looks good. Is there something you would do to change it? Is there something you would want to add to it? The other thing is that the way that it's each CV is formatted is different. Like if you look at Dr. Siri's and mine, we are both our CVs are so different from each other, and also different from some of the points that we discussed with you, because we learned that now, not when we were applying. So it's just important to remember these small tips, like how accurate you can be in your CV, and also to remember how to lay it out, like the formatting part, like the aesthetics of your CV. Now, these two things are very important.
And
Sorry,
then
go on.
also to add to whatever you're saying, if they're
Sure.
asking the CV to know the content of the CV, then we actually spent over an hour and a half covering this entire content in the introductory workshop. So I'm pretty sure this question is not from someone who's attended our introductory workshop, because we thoroughly went over all these details, how every possible thing that you can do as a student, as a foreign dental graduate in another country, as someone who's in the US right now, to also as someone during COVID times, everything that you can do to make your CV unique and strong. So if you are interested in the content part of the CV, then that will benefit you, because we cover comprehensive content of everything, not just content that's in my CV or that's in Dr. Shikha's CV, but I'm pretty sure, at least from those people who attended the workshop, if they follow everything that we cover in the content video, their CV will probably be even stronger than mine and yours combined, right? So because we've racked our brains and put together that thing. So if it's content related, then the introductory workshop that we did, I think it was steps towards VDS. So that one would benefit.
Right. The section, sorry, where can we add the certificate of participation of conferences like GNYDM? I don't know what that means. Will it count? But again, certificate of participations in general will not be included in your CV. They're just certificate of participations. You don't have to, talk to them about the different kinds of courses you went. Of course, you can mention it in your statement of purpose if you would like, or use them in your interview while answering questions like, oh, when I participated in this seminar, I learned this, and use those participation certificates in your answers in your interviews, but don't include it in your CV. Dr. Siri, is the CE certificate enough, or do we have to make a transcript of those CE in AGD?
No, you don't need to make a transcript of the CE. As long as you have the certificate itself, you should be fine.
Where to mention courses like any implant course, and where will BLS go?
So as mentioned, BLS would go under other relevant information. So basic life support, right? Usually most dentists have that now. And it's actually mandatory for you as a dentist in the US to have at least a BLS certification. So you will put that under other relevant information, because it's almost like an expectation that you have it. Whereas certification courses, you can put that under the education tab.
If the research is not published because of the unsuccessful result, can you write it? So technically you could under research experience, but you have to mention unpublished, or you have to justify why it was not published, or at least have some proof of doing the work. Like if you don't have the publication, of course, but you need to have something about that work. Because at the end of the day, this CV is not just about getting that interview call. No matter what you put in your CV, if that CV is bringing you an interview, you will be asked about everything on it. In almost all schools, they will ask you about what is written on your CV. And at that time, if you have nothing to back it up, then at that time, they will not want to go ahead with you, because that'll be like a fraud.
And then also with all these people who are asking, where to put their CE courses, if you're adding it just for filling up your CV, like I had mentioned in the past, you need to know every single thing that you put on your CV. Some schools might not question you when you get an interview, because they might be for a shorter duration of time. But there's some schools like the one that I graduated from, where they have 45 minutes to actually grill you, and they will go over every single thing that you put on your CV. So for example, you did a CDE program or a CE program like 3 years ago on something, and you put it just because you think that the topic was interesting. If you don't remember anything, it's actually going to look bad if they question you on the day of your interview regarding that and you don't recall it, or you just give vague answers. So Be very conscious about the things you put in your CV. Again, quality over quantity. Don't put things to fill things for the heck of it. Always put only things that you consider really, really valuable, right? And what if you don't have anything valuable? That's fine. Now's your time, right? You still have time during the application process to build and add to your CV and make it more interesting.
All right. The next couple of questions are kind of, I can group them together. So one of it is about extracurriculars. Do you include it or not include it on your CV? So here's the thing. A lot of them, when you say, okay, include your extracurriculars, you would just, people put in stuff like their hobbies, like reading, writing, dancing. But this isn't a good idea because it's, first of all, not relevant to your dental application. Secondly, the way the CAPID CV works, and also in some schools, they ask you as an additional document to send your CV. They're trying to only look at your dental work. Some of them actually specify that only talk to us about your dental work. So there you can't even add other awards and honors. If they give you a format even. One of the schools I remember, I don't remember the name of the school, but one of the schools did that. So we would say, unless and until it is a really unique talent that you want to put in there, extracurriculars may not be the best idea to put on your CV. However, you can definitely talk about it in your statement of purpose. Remember, your CV is only your curriculum vitae, right? So it's basically only trying to show you. We discussed in our previous workshop about different things that are important in your profile, right? So in that, one of the things that was important was academics. So your CV is your proof of academics. Everything else, you have different regions and different sections that can prove that you're good at dancing or you're good at reading or writing. If you have written, like say you're a writer and you've actually written a published book, by all means, put that in your CV because that is unique. But if it is something which is very common, like say baking or just collecting stamps, that kind of stuff, you don't have to put it on your CV. You can write about it in your statement of purpose. But again, the aim there will be to connect it to why that made you a better dentist, or that kind of merge it or fuse it along with your dental skills so that it becomes like, okay, this hobby helped you in this way as a dentist or as a professional even. So don't include extracurriculars unless it's really unique. And
you can add, if you really want to add it, like if you're a state level or national level athlete, or like Dr. Shikha mentioned, you're a published writer, you can add it under other relevant information. Keep in mind, CV is usually something that focuses on your professional history and your academics, right? Not the extracurricular stuff. So only add it under relevant information if it's really, really valuable.
Yeah, and then somebody asked if it's worthwhile to add about paper poster presentations. Definitely, very worthwhile. Put that in your CV. Put it on the top if you don't have any other research experience. Right after academics, you can put your poster and paper presentations. And that's why this is important for all of y'all who are students, because you still have a couple more years in school where you can partake in such activities and have them on your resume, in your mental resume, until you get down to the point where you're writing it down and you have all that written down. A couple of them have also asked about whether we are doing another introductory workshop or is the recorded video available. Yes, we are. For $10, we are selling our recorded webinar because it was a paid workshop, and we don't intend to release all that information on Instagram. So if you are interested, you can message us on our Instagram and ask us. You can send us your email ID so we can give you all the details about that workshop. And then you can make that payment and we can send you that recording. There are a couple more questions, but I guess after this we'll wrap it up. Should we include it? Thank you. Okay. Do joining any dental student association help our CV to be strong, Dr. Siri?
That would fall under professional affiliations. It wouldn't make your CV strong, but it would be something that you can add under professional affiliations.
Right. It's just helping you. It'll just show that you are a part of this affiliation. You can really look online to see both national and international dental societies. See wherever you're eligible to join and be a part of those, so just so that you are aware of dentistry in that thing, and it does show on your resume that, oh wow, this student has been a part of ADA for so long. So yeah, it will help you in some way, but it doesn't necessarily like make, like if that's the only thing you have apart from your BDS, then that's not going to help you too much.
Except they've done something, they've made like a significant contribution through that association. I don't think it's that valuable.
Volunteering done in dental school in home country and an undergraduate should be included in the CV or not?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, especially if it's within the last 5 years, for sure, included. And also be very specific with numbers. Like say, for example, you were a part of a fundraiser. So write how much funds you raised. Or if you did like a teaching thing, then you write down how many students you taught, or, like what, like the specifics of that event. Yeah. Sorry, what?
And also the time duration.
Yeah, the time of that event, exactly. And also teaching experience can buy, if you have some teaching experience, like for those who graduate and then go back to teach, you can make a separate section called teaching experience and put all of that if you have more than one. Can we mention CME points earned through other conferences?
I mean, if CME has helped contribute to your dentistry, then yes. But if it's just some random course that you've taken, then again, like we'd mentioned, not sure how beneficial it will actually be to your CV.
All right, so that's pretty much all the questions we have about related to the CV workshop. Again, if you guys have any more questions that you think volunteering certificate should be included or not. So in a CV, you can't attach a certificate. That would pretty much be just for your records. So when you get into the school, when you have your interview and all that, you basically use that information to tell them. But you don't have to attach any certificate, any at all, even your degree to your CV. It's just information. So yeah, that's all the questions that we have related to CVs. And yeah, guys, if you guys still have any more questions, or you think of more questions, or if you want us to go over your CV, reach out to us through Instagram and we'll work out the best way possible for us to help you. And we can answer your questions there. We have been trying really hard to answer as many questions as we can, but now that the COVID situation the restrictions have lifted, we're both back to work full time. So it is getting a little tough for us to answer all questions in time. So please give us some leeway and space in being able to take our time to answer all your questions and help you as much as we can.
Thank you guys so much. And then also don't forget the feedback. Bye.
Yes. Take care. Bye-bye.